I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 419. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over this beautiful world of ours. I don't know about you, but if you were in the path of the eclipse, maybe you got to see it. Maybe you got to see it better than I got to see it, but I know you heard about it. And I wasn't quite on the path, but being in St. Louis, Missouri, I was pretty close to some of those spots. So it was really an amazing spectacle. And it's something that doesn't happen very often. And once again, I am in awe of nature and how little control I have over things like that. I got to watch it, I got to enjoy it, and I didn't have anything to do with it. And it kind of brings me back to the whole idea of nature in itself and our brains and our minds and what we have control over and what we don't have control over. And one of the things we have no control over is nature, for sure. And this in nature was something that I really got to be in awe over, and I'm sure you did too. And it is one of those things that what can I control and what can't I control? That's kind of the topic today that I want to talk to you about is what you can control and what you can't control. And one of the topics that I talked about 2 weeks ago was the idea of equanimity. And I talked to you about that because with the Buddhist philosophy, that is one of the terms that they use a lot about not being indifferent, but also not being attached to the outcome, that you can either take it or you can leave it. It's just kind of a way to look at it. And I talked to you 2 weeks ago about the idea of having equanimity with food. And I'm getting ready to do a group session with my lovely, lovely ladies in my group. And one of the things that we're going to be going over today, one of the sessions is called Making Peace with the Scale. And as you all know, I am really big, big, big on making peace with the scale and using the scale and getting on the scale. And I know that there are some people out there and some techniques out there that tell you not to get on the scale. And I'm not saying anybody is right or wrong. I'm just saying for me and for the work that I try to teach, I think getting on the scale is a great way to be able to look at how your mind is functioning. And because the scale itself is just this metal object that comes up with a number when you stand on it. That's all it is. And what we make it mean is the topic of this today. And also a term that we use a lot, especially in weight loss, called a plateau. What is a plateau? And this is what I'm going to pose to my group today. So I'm going to pose it to you too. Is a plateau, is it a fact, a circumstance, like I use it in the model, or is it a thought? Isn't it's kind of an interesting concept because when I was talking with my group members last week, I had one of my students who was talking about that she had a plateau, and we used it as it was a fact. And after I was through coaching her, I started thinking about it, and I said to her, when you think you're in a plateau or you're on a plateau, how does it make you feel? This is the thing about a plateau and the thought of a plateau is it does create negative emotion, at least it did for her. So the idea of the difference between facts and thoughts or circumstances and thoughts is circumstances are things that can be proven in court and really they're neutral. They have no emotion until we think something that brings up an emotion. So is it possible that a plateau is a thought that doesn't help you on your weight loss journey? So here's the way that I would use it. And this is why I think of it like this. And this is what I'm going to be posing to my group after thinking about this plateau thing and thinking about having equanimity with the scale, how that works. So for instance, in my Weight Watcher days, when I would get on the scale, go to Weight Watchers once a week, it was very, very important to me that I was able to go to the bathroom, that I would wear the lightest clothes that I could find. And to be honest with you, I think sometimes I weighed them. And I laugh at myself, but I also have a lot of compassion for myself, and I have a lot of compassion for you too, because I have a feeling you do the same thing. I know I have a lot of clients that are very particular about how they get on that scale. And I want to tell you how far I've come. I'm still a little leery of it sometimes. I have to admit it. I still have thoughts of, I don't think I want to look, and oh, maybe it will ruin my day. It really used to be a barometer of how I was going to feel for the rest of the day. And I have a lot of clients that still do that. And what I want to do with you today is to help you become equanimous with the number on the scale. And in the session that I do with my clients, I call it making peace with the scale. But even being peaceful, is that equanimous? These are all these thoughts that are coming up with me as I'm really thinking about how we think about the scale. And certainly, I think peace is better than judgment, for sure. And being at peace means that whatever the number is that you see, that inside your body, you still have a peaceful feeling. And is that the same as being equanimous, which is really neither here nor there? And it's also not being indifferent. It's not that you don't care, it's just that you notice it without judging it, which is also the definition of mindfulness, is to see what's going on, especially in your mind or anywhere, without judgment. So, how would we use that with the scale? And how would we use that with the thought of a plateau? Is it a thought? So, for instance, one of my clients, she's been at the same weight probably for the last couple months, I think. Now, in the model that I use, that many of you may know about, but I'll just explain it to you briefly, just so you know what I'm talking about, because it is a way that I teach you. It is a mind management tool. It is the tool when you're trying to figure out how to become any kind of feeling that you want. So, for instance, if you want to be equanimous with the scale or you want to be peaceful with the scale, what you think about the number is very, very important. And do you know what you're thinking? So, for those of you who have never done this before and are new to my work, let me just say to begin with, welcome. And also that the beginning is just getting on the scale and noticing what you're thinking, or noticing if you don't want to get on the scale, or noticing that you haven't been on the scale for a long time. What are you thinking that's stopping you from getting on the scale? Or if you finally get on the scale, what are you thinking when you get on there? Is it creating a negative emotion or is it creating a positive emotion? I think that's a good start. Maybe if you don't even know what it is it negative or is it positive? And I think where we want to live when we get on the scale, if possible, is more in the neutral range, more in the curiosity range. Because here's the thing, I don't think we have a better tool out there to let us know if we're losing weight, if the behavior that we're doing or what we're putting in our mouth is helping us or hurting us. It couldn't be any clearer than with the scale. You either are losing weight, you're not losing weight, or you're staying the same. It is what it is. Now, how you approach it, I think, makes all the difference in how you make this permanent and how you will make this the last time that you ever want to lose weight again is how you manage the scale. Because I don't know about you, but my guess is that if you live for a long time and you get on the scale, sometimes it's going to go up and sometimes it's going to go down and sometimes it's going to stay the same. And you being able to manage any of those thoughts, like you know that when you get on the scale, it's just information that's going to help you. And a lot of times you know before you get on the scale, according to your behavior, if it's going to go up or not. And I find that so many clients get surprised when all you have to do is look at their food journals and we can see that they've been eating beyond +2s, they've been fogging, or they've been having a lot of unplanned joy eats. That led to weight gain. And so they get on the scale and they see the weight gain, and then their mind starts to tell them things that isn't going to help them come back. Now, coming back is the most important tool that I will ever teach after I teach you how to be curious and equanimous with a scale. Not so much what you put in your mouth as to what you do when the scale doesn't say what you want it to say, for number one, that you can take it or leave it in terms of using the information to help you. Like you could have a thought that when you get on the scale, no matter what the scale says, it will help me get closer to where I want to be. Would be a fantastic thought. So if it's up, it's going to help you get closer to where you want to be. Why did it go up? If it went down, it'll help you get closer to where you want to be, as long as you know why it went down. And if it stays the same, why it stayed the same. Now, listen, you can be doing all the right behaviors and it can do any of those things anyway. And that creates curiosity too, where you could be able to talk to yourself. And even when I'm doing everything, sometimes the scale does what it does. Right? So we calm down with the scale. It's like, enough. I can handle you. You can't say anything that I can't handle. You know, I saw somebody on Facebook recently where I was talking about being equanimous with the scale. And the person that answered me back, what she said is it's really hard when I keep getting on the scale and it keeps going up. And so I said to her, because I was really curious as to, well, why is the scale going up? I mean, that would be a very curious question to make you curious. And her answer is because I binge at night. So if you're overeating at night and the scale is going up, well, of course it's going to go up. You can get negative emotions from that, but it's not the scale that's creating it. It's that you don't think that you can control yourself around food and therefore you don't want to get on the scale. The scale's not the problem. The scale's going up because you're eating when you're not hungry and you know that's what you're doing. You don't have to get on the scale if you don't want to. But how does that make you feel better if you already know you're eating when you're not hungry and you know that? So the question then becomes, how can I stop eating when I'm not hungry? What kind of help can I get? And of course, that's why I do all of these podcasts, is to help people with these kind of problems. Is why do I eat when I'm not hungry? Why do I eat at night? You know, when she says I binge eat at night, I'm not exactly sure what binge eating means because it's different for everybody. But if every time she gets on the scale's going up and she's overeating at night, that's why. You can get upset at the scale. You can get angry at yourself. And all you're going to do is keep doing the same thing. None of it's going to help. And that's when we turn to self-compassion. If we can become equanimous with the scale, is I wonder what's going on. And now you know what's going on. You know you're eating when you're not hungry and you're eating at night. And there are things going on. I wonder what's going on. Good question to talk to somebody like me about that. Like if we were doing a mini session, what's going on there? There's more that's going on than just you're eating when you're not hungry or you're binging. Wouldn't you like to kind of get to what the problem really is, especially if it's in menopause, especially if it's due to heightened emotions, which it usually is. So that's what I want you to ponder about this week for yourself. Wherever you are, if you're at a place where you don't have to lose weight anymore, I think that's very interesting. People like to call that maintenance care. Maintenance care is an interesting thing. Is maintenance care a circumstance or is maintenance care a thought? When you think I have to maintain, I'm in maintenance, how does it make you feel? I just think all of these things are very interesting because the thoughts about the number on the scale create actions of what we want to do or create actions of what we wish we weren't doing. We're either getting the result we want or we're getting the result we don't want. Figure that out for yourself right now. with the scale. Are you getting what you want when you get on the scale, or are you not getting what you want? And if you're not, start looking at what you're thinking about the scale and start thinking, is it possible I can become more equanimous with the scale? Can I become more equanimous with food? Can I take it or can I leave it? And if there's a lot of drama about either of them, good reason to talk to me. And you know what? You can do a mini session with me where you can talk to me about this. All you have to do is go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and we can find out maybe what's going on inside of you. But listen, I would never end this podcast, especially after talking about equanimity, and especially about talking about equanimity with the scale, equanimity with food, and creating peace around the scale without saying to you that no matter where you go or what you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye.